This presentation is our investigation of teaching unions here in Ireland, namely the Associations of Secondary Teachers Ireland, the ASTI, and the Teachers Union of Ireland, the TUI. The presentation is part of the assessment of module code EN4018, Teacher as a Professional, and represents the efforts of Conor Glynn, Eoghan Mason, Matthew Collins and Sean Maher. In conducting our research, we identified 4 key elements of our investigation that will be the basis of our research. These elements are the history behind each union, the differences between the TUI and the ASTI, the benefits of joining either union, and where both unions stand on the issues that face us as teachers currently. By the time this presentation concludes, we hope that you will have a comprehensive understanding of the unions available to choose from, providing you with the necessary input you need to make an informed decision and aid you in your professional teaching development in the near future. Very briefly, we chose this topic because when we all graduate, we have the opportunity to join a teachers' union when we hopefully gain employment. We believe it is better to be informed about why we should join either union rather to go in fully blind. Teacher unions are essentially there to voice the opinions and concerns of teachers at a government level. These concerns, for example, relate to pay we receive, the conditions we work in, and more. The Teachers Union of Ireland was originally founded in 1930 as the Vocational Educational Officers Organisation. In 1955, it renamed itself as the Vocational Teachers Association. Then, almost 50 years ago in 1973, it became what we know it as today, the Teachers Union of Ireland. As I will come to mention when we move to the ASTI, in 2017 the TUI saw a surge in members as its members essentially were guaranteed more money at that time due to a large industrial dispute around pay. The TUI represents the largest faction of teachers, especially the majority of young teachers here in Ireland. The ASTI was established slightly earlier in 1909, with a single focus on secondary schools here in Ireland. This union currently has 17,000 members, however they are all from secondary schools ranging from vocational to comprehensive schools around the country. In contrast, the TUI do not represent further education and higher level education teachers. The ASTI are quite militant and have a history of being quite controversial. Their reputation took a significant upheaval in 2017 when they refused to accept the Lansdowne Road Agreement, and as mentioned, this triggered pay freezes. Subsequently, the ASTI only received 90 members in the following 6 months, compared to 1,281 members joining the TUI in the same time. The ASTI clearly outlined their very general objectives and aims on their website, which include promoting and protecting teachers' interests and conditions of employment. Now that we have an understanding of both unions and their history, how does this affect the active teacher groups in schools across Ireland today? The joint union situation has always been a feature of the community school and comprehensive school sector, but it is a much more recent phenomenon in voluntary secondary schools. Historically, it was common for schools to have teachers in the ASTI and TUI. However, this is something that schools are beginning to move away from as at this point it presents issues around various union activities and values as well as industrial disputes. For example, if either union representing teachers within a school were to go on strike, take for example in a school where a small number of the teachers are ASTI members, the school will essentially have to close, as the members of the TUI cannot cross the picket line. Up until quite recently, the ASTI as a union refused to support the new junior certificate reform, and did not want their members to implement it. However, they have had a change of opinion after quite some delegation with other relevant parties. The TUI, on the other hand, have supported these changes, with their members actively engaging in the new initiatives such as SLAR meetings. Within our group, one of us attended a comprehensive secondary school in North Cork. The school had both ASTI and TUI members within its staff. Interestingly, all of the ASTI teachers' members were over at the age of 34, with all TUI members younger than that. He said that within the school, any issues in this regard were mainly surrounding industrial disputes. For the next stage of our presentation, we decided we were going to look at the differences in beliefs and thoughts on current and future issues between the two unions. We took a look at the topics surrounding junior cycle reform, the pay scale dispute, the rescheduling of the leaving cert, the senior cycle review and possible reform, temporary redeployment, and as well as junior cycle reform continued in the issue of SLAR meetings. The first area we looked at as a group was the junior cycle reform. The unions have had quite contrasting views on it all, with the ASTI pushing the narrative that the reform wasn't that beneficial, taking the standpoint that their teachers have complained about it and are not happy about its implementation. To expand on this, their teachers are unsure of the educational benefits that the reform promises, that workload has increased, referencing the extra work that they have to do with learning outcomes and key skills, that the reform will require more and better training of existing and new teachers, as well as new specifications being described as rushed. When you contrast that with the TUI, who are claiming that the reform is a success and an achievement for their union, they believe there is many positives to come from the reform, such as gaining 40 minutes professional time for a full-time teacher engaged with the junior cycle, projects and practicals being assessed by external examiners, and teachers not being required to assess their own students for the junior certificate. Next, we move on to the pay scale dispute between the unions and the government. What both unions are hoping for is quite similar: equal pay for equal work. The differences come when the unions are trying to say who started the movement and who is doing a better job. The ASTI General Secretary, Kieran Christie, was quite bullish in his comments in April of last year, stating that pay equality must be restored. This sets the tone for the union itself. The ASTI claimed that they started this movement long before the TUI. The ASTI were the first union to strike in regards to pay scale back in 2016. They have even claimed that their campaign has secured some gains for teachers, like the reversal of the qualification allowances and the incorporation of the honours primary degree allowance. In February of this year, the ASTI brought out a poster in the Irish Times where they appealed to the public for their support, stating that the pay scale was punishing new teachers and was senseless from the onset, that the pay gap is vindicative, that pay inequality damages education in Ireland and damages your child's chances of a good education, and lastly, that teacher recruitment is in crisis. As mentioned before, the unions were striving for the same goal, but each want to take the credit for it. So in line with this, the TUI also claimed that they are leading the union in the fight against the pay scale, referencing the most recent strike on the 4th of February this year. Like the ASTI, they state that it is having a negative effect on the students' learning due to problems with recruitment and subjects being dropped. The TUI president, Seamus Lahart, said that new teachers are being grossly discriminated against. This has led to the TUI maintaining a strong position in this area of teacher inequality and showing a clear strength in this fight for equality. The outbreak of the coronavirus has caused much upset to Irish education. Schools have closed and critical exams have been cancelled or rescheduled. The union's thoughts on the rescheduling couldn't have been more opposed to start off with. The ASTI has said that their teachers would do nothing to help their students if the schools were to be opened by the government in July or August. On the other hand, the TUI asked their members to help facilitate this strange time, which their members obliged. The TUI were looking forward to actively engaging with the government to try and help. Seamus Lahart called for solidarity, compassion, flexibility and imaginative thinking. The ASTI has since changed their tune due to a backlash and will now engage constructively with the government. Next, we looked at the union's responses to the NCCA's reviews on the senior cycle, which started in 2016. The ASTI felt that more evidence should be gathered before any change and that the junior cycle reform should be evaluated first. They didn't want any CBAs, short courses or SPCAs, the senior cycle equivalent of a junior cycle profile of achievement. They believed that wider consultation is needed and that the final exam should be worth at least 50 to 60%. The TUI did not release as much information as the ASTI in relation to this review. However, they did release a few statements holding the belief that the state certified exams must remain, as well as that teachers will not correct their own student exams. Additional workloads would not be accepted by teachers and that the reform shouldn't happen just for the sake of it. As already explored previously regarding the reschedule of the Leaving Cert, the outbreak of the coronavirus here in Ireland has had a detrimental effect on our society, and that is strongly felt by the educational system. Not only have the Irish government had to force drastic changes around final assessments, but also upon the expectations of teachers amongst many other areas. In a circular by the Department of Education, it is described that teachers who are not required to be retained in providing or supporting educational services and have not been medically advised to self-isolate will be made available for assignment on a temporary basis to support delivery of other essential public services. The redeployment of people throughout Ireland, including within the educational system, is deemed to be a necessary factor of overcoming this global pandemic here. Teachers represent the very best of society and boast a wide variety of knowledge and experience in various fields. In 2007, a joint scheme between the TUI, ASTI and the Department of Education and Science was delivered upon the premise of the redeployment of staff in the occurrence of school closures. This scheme heavily aligned with the recent circular by the Department of Education in relation to temporary redeployment, and so it remains to be seen will both unions align in helping to allocate necessary redeployment of their members if the need arises. At the moment, both unions believe the need to redeploy teachers is not of great concern, but as this crisis develops, we shall see if these standpoints remain the same. Subject Learning and Assessment Review Meetings, or SLAR meetings for short, represent an important aspect of the new junior cycle assessment reform. In a circular by the Department of Education and Science in this year, it said that schools would be required to arrange SLAR meetings in accordance with this guidance from the school year 2021 onwards. This element of the junior cycle reform undoubtedly created an increased workload for teachers, something that both unions in Ireland have been critical of. Thus far, the Teachers' Union of Ireland have been more accommodating in encouraging its members to work with this, while providing sources of vital information and viewpoints in choosing how it should be effectively implemented. The ASTI members, on the other hand, are still not satisfied with the conditions being laid out by the department in facilitating these meetings, and at a minimum believe that these SLAR meetings should be held in accordance with Section 9.7 of the Joint Statement on Principles and Implementation of Junior Cycle Reform, which states the 40-minute professional time period provided within the timetable is available to teachers on the basis that they will use this time flexibly, including bundling time periods and carrying forward time to facilitate professional collaboration. Teachers may also use these time periods for individual planning, feedback, or reporting activities relating to the junior cycle. In particular, time periods will need to be bundled to facilitate SLAR meetings. Since professional collaboration meetings can only be held within the relevant subject teachers can be present, a limited number of meetings may need to draw on teachers' bundle time to run beyond normal school tuition hours for some of the duration of the meeting. It is important to remember that you do not have to join a union if you do not wish to. Some newly qualified teachers even boycotted the unions and refused to join them. This was done as a form of protest in response to austerity area pay cuts which were targeted at them. However, there are benefits to joining a union. Grigu argues that membership with a union allows teachers to take ownership of their professionalism, that it allows them to not only express their views but to get their views echoed and heard, and lastly that membership of a union helps create a better public image of school systems. If we look now at the important details one might consider in choosing a union to join, we could help promote more informed decision making. Upon registering as a member of the ASTI, one would receive various benefits, including free advice and help with workplace issues, as well as access to a selection of publications about the teaching profession. ASTI members can also access funds such as the ASTI Scholarship, awarding $2,000 to 2 members for further studies, and grants for legal aid or expenses incurred by members arising from or in connection with professional duties. ASTI members also have the opportunity to be a part of a substitute placement scheme, which can aid employment and can make additional voluntary contributions to their retirement benefits while cutting their tax bill in the present. The ASTI also offers its members access to certain financial services, for example, membership with the ASTI Credit Union and access to a benevolent fund, where appropriate, providing funds for members forced into early retirement. Membership also grants car and home insurance through Cornmarket, as well as travel insurance through Multitrip, access to a VHI health scheme, and attaining an ASTI Visa card with exclusive benefits. On the flip side, upon registering as a member of the TUI, one would receive benefits such as professional and effective representation on pay, conditions of service and job security. The TUI also offers free advice for new teachers, as well as €1 membership fee for members in their first year of teaching. Furthermore, members have the option to join the TUI Golf Society, as well as its members availing of personal liability insurance agreed upon with the Education and Training Board of Ireland. The TUI also provides any necessary representation and advice for its members in personal cases relating to a number of issues. Similar to the ASTI, the TUI offers access to an array of financial services, including access to a provident fund which provides members with assistance in paying medical expenses as the result of being hospitalised, as well as access to a contingency fund which helps fund industrial disputes and strikes at a local level. Furthermore, members can avail of home, car and travel insurance through Cornmarket, as well as VHI health insurance. TUI members can avail of a TUI credit card, as well as free financial planning and retirement planning. In 2018, education journalist Brian Mooney from the Irish Times argued that what both unions provide in terms of their benefits are very similar, yet the small differences can have a substantial effect over a lifetime. Given that the differences with regard to benefits are so minute, we believe that it is very important to do some research and to have an informed opinion before one makes their choice. The decision could potentially have a huge impact on the finances of an individual, and as a result it is a very personal decision. We have now explored in depth the 2 biggest teaching unions in Ireland. Not only did we learn about the history, viewpoints and benefits of joining such unions, but we also developed a greater understanding of the types of support that are available to us and how we can now access these if chosen. This investigation will help provide us with the framework and understanding we need as future educators of our chosen fields to overcome any challenges we may face in our pursuit and retention of a professional teaching career.